Hi everybody, welcome back to Spirit and Action. I'm David, and for this week's weekly mindset, we're going to be talking about tackling weaknesses. I want to talk about 3 of the most common negative behaviours that can hold you back, why you need to think about them, and also I'll offer 3 simple prompts that will help you overcome these negative behaviours. So please watch through to the end and get 3 prompts that will help you avoid making mistakes. Let's get started with the first one of these problems. Can you guess what it is? Well, this is a topic that is familiar to this channel. It's all about giving in to distractions. In other words, procrastination or putting off what matters. Apparently, surveys have shown that 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators. And when it gets younger in the student population, this number rises to actually 80%. The thing about procrastination is that basically it just means delaying work that needs to be done. Now, I would say that one of the biggest enemies of procrastination is distraction. Nowadays, as we all know, there is so much distraction available that you can, anytime, anywhere, you can avoid doing important work just by accessing the internet, going on social media, that kind of thing. It's much more fun than perhaps writing a report or preparing a presentation. The thing with procrastination is that it causes stress and anxiety. And it might also harm your reputation, which is a really difficult thing to get back. Obviously, there are lots of videos and books on the matter of procrastination. I think we can summarize a solution though. In order to break this cycle, the easiest thing is just to simply start something and commit yourself to it for just about 5 minutes. Procrastination is hardest to get over at the starting point. Once you've started, then it's relatively easier to keep going. So here is prompt to cope with problem number 1, and the prompt is just start, do it now. Problem number 2 is negative self-talk. This is the voice inside your head that is always criticizing you, offering up problems and dangers that keep you worrying and perhaps doing nothing, or just avoiding what the important tasks are. Now, we all have that inner voice in our heads, and our inner voice is usually tuned to negative thoughts. This is simply the way our brains are structured. It's part of being human. So you can't pretend that the negative thoughts don't exist or deny that you're having them. You have to kind of deal with them and almost have a conversation with that negative talking part in your mind. If you do end up listening to your inner critic, a number of problems can arise. You can get depressed. If you're depressed, you're probably likely to do nothing. What's more, if you're constantly criticizing yourself, you're less likely to correct errors and adapt to new situations. You find yourself getting stuck. In order to break this habit, it's a good idea to start paying attention to that talking voice inside your head and observing what it is saying to you. When you catch yourself being overcritical, challenge those thoughts. Note that when you are having thoughts that criticize you, you don't have to believe them. You are not your thoughts. It does not mean that a negative thought is true and must be believed. Replace "I can't do this" with growth-orientated ideas like, this is hard, I don't particularly like it, but I'm learning and I'm building new skills and abilities. Here is the prompt for overcoming problem number 2, and the prompt simply is, you are not your thoughts. The third problem that holds us back is fear of failure. You've probably heard this before, that fear of failure is one of the reasons why people don't succeed, why people give up. And you've probably also heard people remind you that failure should simply be seen as a learning point, something you tried that did not work. Surveys have shown that people who see failures simply as learning points go on to be much more successful and achieve better results than people who get worked up and upset by their failures. So to break this particular pattern, the best thing to do is to set yourself a challenge, but a challenge that is not too hard. If you set yourself a challenge that is going to be really difficult and requires immense effort, it is likely that you are going to fail. However, if you set the task as something that pushes you an extra 10 or 15% harder, it's much more likely you will have the self-belief to actually push that little bit further and achieve beyond what you normally do. A simple example is if you, let's say, walk 3 kilometers every day, well, you can push yourself harder by walking 3.5 kilometers the next day. It's a little bit challenging, but of course, it's quite doable. And remember, as a general rule, the more times you face failure, the less power it has on you. So here is the prompt for problem number 3, and the prompt is, I can push my limits. These are 3 points that hold people back: giving into distraction and succumbing to procrastination, negative self-talk, and fear of failure. The good news is that research shows that all of these patterns can be changed. By being aware of them and taking the small steps that I have suggested in this video, you can fairly comfortably overcome a number of these problems. Let me just remind you of the prompts that will help you. Number 1, just start, do it now. Number 2, you are not your thoughts. And number 3, I can push my limits. That's the weekly mindset edition for this week. Thank you for staying through, and if you have any comments, please let me know in the comments section. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this video helped you. Give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who you think might need a push to overcome negative behaviour patterns. And don't forget to subscribe to the Spirit and Action YouTube channel. Until next time, have a fantastic day, week, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you are doing. I'll see you for the next weekly mindset.